Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Isabella, and this is going to be my Q&A video. So I asked you guys to send in questions through, I don't know what you call it, Sahara or Saraha or whatever it is, and through Instagram, and I actually got quite a few questions which I didn't really expect. There were quite a few people asking about like school and stuff, and so I'm just gonna go over everything that I got in this video. The first question is, what career are you pursuing? So I'm pursuing a nursing career actually. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be a NICU nurse or if I'm going to go into like, I don't know. I don't know what type of nursing I'm going into, but I just know I'm going into nursing. It'll likely be NICU nursing. That's what my mom does, and I love babies and kids so much, and so that's definitely something I'm very interested in and have been since I was a small child. Next question is, did you ever have second thoughts about keeping the baby? I never had second thoughts. There were a bunch of people around me who had second thoughts right off the bat, but I was never like, oh, maybe I'll get an abortion or adopt or something. That was never a question for me. I believe everything happens for a reason and that God has a plan for everyone, and I didn't even think it was possible for me to get pregnant ever because I was so sick at one point in my life that I actually died, and so they said I was probably infertile, and so we didn't even know if I could get pregnant or not. So to me it was a blessing, and I never had second thoughts about it. The next question is, what are you planning on doing about school? Are you planning on doing online school for second semester or working through the second semester until the baby comes? I am going to be working through second semester until the baby comes. That has been the plan from the start. At one point I did want to do online school, but that wasn't really an option for me. And so I am staying at my current school until I basically go into labor, and then I will take however much time off that I need and then come back and finish the semester and graduate with my class. Next question is, are you going to graduate high school? And if so, plans for college because of the baby? So for the first part of that question, yes, I am graduating high school. I'm graduating on time and with the same class of kids I've gone to school with since like elementary school, and all the new people that have come in whenever. And so I am graduating with my class of 2018. And my plans for college because of the baby is I am going to the U of A actually. That's where I got accepted back in July and then again in November, and I chose to go into nursing instead of veterinary science, and they actually have a scholarship there that you get every semester for childcare, and you can put that money towards childcare, daycare, or whatever. And I'm hoping that I get that, and if I don't, then I'll just figure it out. You know, there's so many people that go to school who have kids. There's people way younger than me that have kids and still go through college and everything. So I'm not gonna let any of this slow me down. It's more of a motivation to get things done than anything. So the next one was a little weird. It wasn't even a question. It just says baby, baby, and you tummy, tummy. And yes, there is a small child in my stomach. Next question is, was abortion or adoption ever an option you were considering? And again, no, those were never options I considered, just because God has a plan for everything, and this baby to me is a blessing, and to everyone around me who's like family related says the same thing. The next question, I'm not sure if I understand this correctly or not, but I'm gonna try my best. It says, yikes, does it like bend your spine? By bend your spine, if you mean like the weight in my stomach bending my spine, then yes, technically that is true. If you actually look up a video of what pregnancy does to your body, it's really interesting because the weight in the front actually curves your back more, which my back isn't used to because I have a C curve for scoliosis and my back curves outwards instead of inwards. And so it's definitely not very comfortable at all, and it's getting better, and it was a lot more painful before. but it's not something that is very comfortable or I suggest having pain-wise. The next question is, are you not worried that this is going to ruin your life? You've seen the show Teen Mom, right? If you plan on going to college, having a child is going to make that next to impossible. Also, how can you be so sure that you and Victor are going to stay together? High school sweethearts never last. I'm not trying to be a bitch, I'm just very worried. We all are. Okay, so change of location because one of my family members came home. So, back to the question, are you not worried that this is going to ruin your life? I am definitely not worried this is going to ruin my life at all. It's just a blessing and a motivation for sure. I never ever thought that this would ruin my life, and that was never even a thought that crossed my mind. And I'm actually really surprised someone asked this because I didn't expect that. I don't know how people could see this as ruining your life. You've seen the show Teen Mom, right? Yes, I've seen the show Teen Mom, and TLC, I don't really know how I feel about TLC exactly. It just has a lot to do with drama, and I don't know if all the drama is necessarily real. And every Teen Mom is different, you know, not everyone is going to be like the people on the show. It's a show for a reason because it's entertaining. That doesn't mean it's what real life is. If you plan on going to college, having a child is going to make that next to impossible. Also, how can you be sure that you and Victor are going to stay together? High school sweethearts never last. There's actually a lot of couples in my family that were high school sweethearts that are still together today. My grandparents on both sides of my family. My grandma actually, she was pregnant at 16 and had her baby around 17 years old, and she is still with the same guy they have been with forever. I mean, they were together for, I think it was 2 years before she got pregnant, and they are still together now, and they're pretty sure they're nearly in their mid-70s, so their high school sweethearts do last. It's not very common in our society because of the type of people that our society has brought up, but they definitely still exist, and it all depends if you're willing to work through problems in your relationship. A lot of people like to avoid problems and then just jump off the gun and move on and start all over, but the fact is that if you are willing to stay and work through things and have true love, then they're gonna last. I appreciate your worry, but there's really nothing to be worried about. Next question is, why'd you do this baby thing? How'd you get Victor to possibly think this was a good idea? So, I don't know what you mean by this baby thing, but if you mean going through with it, because it's a blessing, again, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm gonna have more energy to play with my kids than most people do. I'm gonna be able to hang out with them longer. I'm gonna be able to see them grow up longer and be there for them more than maybe a normal parent could be. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna have things that I can't do too, but I feel like I'm gonna be able to do more than some people can. And how'd you get Victor to possibly think this was a good idea? I don't feel like I had to convince him this was a good idea. I mean, he was obviously really scared at first. Who wouldn't be, you know, he's 16, almost 17 actually. And I mean, who wouldn't be scared? I didn't have to convince him of anything though. He loves me. I love him. We both knew what we were risking, and it didn't change anything. Have you gotten hate from people at school? Okay, so this one is kind of interesting. So I feel like I might have gotten hate from people at school, but I'm not really sure because I feel like if there is hate, it's all behind my back. I haven't had a single person come up to me and say anything negative or like whisper something in the hallway or like make a snarky comment or something. So I don't feel like I've gotten hate from people at school to my face, but behind my back, I don't know, because I don't really care or pay attention to drama. It's my life, not theirs, and I'm gonna live it how I want. I'm gonna be happy and not care about people's negative opinions. What is the hardest part about being pregnant and going to school at the same time? Okay. For this question, there's not really a single answer to that. There's a few things that are really difficult about it. One is, for right now at least, is like being super exhausted all the time, and just uncomfortable and sore, which has definitely hit me lately, and my feet have started to swell up and stuff sometimes. And so I feel like that's a different answer for every trimester, because like first trimester you're sick and you don't feel good and you're tired, but second trimester you're like feeling pretty good or whatever, and you might just have to go to the bathroom a lot. But right now it's probably the worst part is probably just being so exhausted and uncomfortable. I definitely like feel pregnant at this point, which hasn't really hit me until recently. And I was also diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia again, and so I'm definitely really, really tired all the time. In all seriousness, what would you do if you went into labor during school? Okay, so funny story, this has actually been like a serious worry of mine for the entire pregnancy nearly, and it's a concern of Victor's too, and we've talked about it, and we're kind of planning on, if I feel like I might go into labor leading up to my due date, like before my due date, then I'm gonna take a couple days off school and see what happens. And if nothing happens and I get checked or whatever, then I'll just go back to school. When I get really, really close to my due date, like the week of my due date, and I think it could happen any minute or whatever, we're talking about maybe taking a few days off just to see how things are going, get extra rest or whatever. But it really just depends on how I'm feeling, and we'll just kind of figure it out as it happens. But if I don't know, if I did go into labor during school, it would depend, because you can be in labor and just have contractions but your water hasn't broken yet, but you could also be in labor because your water has broken. So if I were just having contractions, I would probably just leave school and then go home where I was more comfortable. But if my water broke during school, I would probably just stand up in class and be like, call the janitor, I'm going to the nurse's office. I don't know. I don't really know how I'd handle that situation. I would end up going home regardless, but I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Next question is, what made you choose the name Willow? So I chose the name Willow because I've always thought that was a really pretty name. To me, it just reminds me of like nature and, like health and happiness. And that's why I chose Willow. It's also really unique, and Victor and I both really like the name. Next question is, what is the hardest part about being a teen mom? Well, I'm not really a teen mom yet, so I'll come back to this question when I do a teen mom Q&A. So I'm just going to leave that one for now. What are you most excited for when the baby comes? Okay, well, I'm most excited for finally meeting my daughter and like finally seeing her face and holding her for the first time. And I am so excited to see Victor hold his daughter for the first time and become a father, and my parents become grandparents and all that. So there's a lot of things I'm excited for, but I think I'm most excited to finally be able to hold her. If the gender of your baby was a boy, what would you name him? So in the beginning of my pregnancy, we didn't know, obviously, what gender the baby was, and so we were talking about names and what we would want to do, because I figured it would take us a while to find a name we were in love with, and it did, but, we found one eventually. But in the beginning, we were talking about both names for boys and girls, and the name we came up with for a boy was Desmond, and that has to do with Victor and I's, that's my dog, just ignore him. That had to do with Victor and I's favorite movie ever, and we watched it all the time before we found out. And So that has to do with that, and just a name we find really classy and elegant, and it's just a really nice name. The next question is, have you started taking birthing classes yet? So I went to like childbirth education classes, but I haven't gone to, like birthing classes where, everyone's like, hanging out and like practicing breathing and what they're gonna do during labor for comfort or whatever. But I have considered taking them, but the thing is I don't really have time to do that. I am trying to get all my online school stuff and my credits done before March, so that way when I come back I can just take my test and then be ready for graduation. And so I have a lot of schoolwork I have to do, and I still have to finish putting together the nursery at my mom's, and then I have to get all the baby stuff that I need still, and I have to plan the baby shower, and I have to get everything all set up. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so I don't really have time to take birthing classes, but I'm going to try and like watch, videos on YouTube of breathing techniques and pain management and stuff while I'm working on things, like cleaning and schoolwork or whatever. Next question is, how much time are you going to take off when you have the baby? Okay, so initially I thought I was probably only going to take off, 10 days or 2 weeks or something. Even though the recovery time is 3 to 6 weeks. And then I was talking to my mom about how much time I should take off or whatever, and she says, well, recovery time is about 3 to 6 weeks, so at least that. And so it'll probably end up being 3 weeks most likely. If I'm still not feeling right, I'll just take it week by week. I'm definitely not going to stay out any longer than I have to, because I'm graduating on time. I'm going to college in the fall, so probably just 3 weeks, but we'll see. Did you plan on being pregnant, or did it come as a surprise? It came as a surprise, considering that I thought I was infertile, but it also wasn't super surprising because it's not like we were being super protective or anything. We knew we were taking a risk, and we still did what we did, but I don't know, it was both a surprise and not a surprise, I guess. Next question is, what made you know you were ready to have a child? So I don't really know if I knew I was ready or if it was just instinct. I've always been super maternal. I've always wanted kids since I was a baby myself. I had baby dolls like crazy, and I would even put them in like their own little car seat and like stroll them around the stores and made sure they were fed. And going back to, wanting to be a nurse since I was a little kid, I would like intubate them and give them NG tubes and IVs. It's just how I've always been. I've always wanted to be a nurse. I've always been maternal. I don't necessarily know if I was like, I'm ready to have a kid, let's do this right now, but I mean, you just take what life gives you. Things come in life that you're not always prepared for, but you just kind of have to take it on the whim and kind of go with it. I could have gotten an abortion or set up for adoption or something, but I didn't choose to do that because this was our choice. We did this, and God obviously has a plan for it, so I'm not going to change that. The last question I got is, are you and Victor going to get married or have a house together? So, for the first part, are you and Victor going to get married? We actually have, I'll talk about that later. I'll post something about that later. Yeah, there's a few surprises coming that I think you guys are going to really like. But the second part, have a house together. For the first probably year of Willow being alive, we probably won't have a house together. The plan right now is that Willow and I are mostly going to be at my mom's house, so I'm kind of setting it up like that. We're also going to have my dad set up for when I go over there, or she wants to go over there and see Grandpa, and we have a pack and play at Victor's house so that when we stay over there and we're hanging out or whatever and decide to stay the night, then she has a place there to stay too. But as far as living together, We are trying to figure that out. We haven't really talked much about it. He's not allowed to stay in an apartment with me until he's 18 without parental permission, and I can't personally afford an apartment on my own right now, and it's just better for everyone if we just stay at our houses with our parents, because then we're going to have their help and the comfort and safety of all that, and it's already pretty much all set up anyway. And later on, yes, we are going to like get an apartment or a house or something. My plan kind of is, while I'm in college, by the second year, third year of college, maybe get an apartment with him. And then once I have my degree, we are planning on trying to find a place to live in a different state, because we both want to go somewhere with more opportunities and different types of seasons and stuff. And so, and also with a better education system for Willow. And so that's kind of our plan right now. As far as housing, we will get an apartment together one day, but at this moment we aren't right now. So as of today, I am 31 weeks pregnant. I am definitely feeling pregnant and getting towards that final stretch, single-digit weeks now until we meet our baby girl. Super excited for Tuesday because we have another appointment and we're finally getting an ultrasound. We haven't had one in like 3 months, and so that's really exciting. I will probably have a 31-week update coming this like next Saturday probably, but we'll see, because there has been a lot of changes lately since the last time I updated. I think the last update I posted was 25 or 26 weeks, so it's been a while, and I'll post an update probably next week. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!